For years, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds were Hollywood's golden couple, the perfect mix of charm, humor, and power. But now, that flawless image seems to be cracking. What's happening behind the scenes of It Ends With Us is starting to look less like a movie production, and more like a full-blown Hollywood implosion. When the cameras stopped rolling, the real drama began. Reports of on-set tension between Blake Lively and director Justin Baldoni started trickling out. Whispers of heated arguments, clashing egos, and creative control gone wrong. And now, the situation has escalated far beyond creative differences. What was once a quiet rumor has evolved into a legal and emotional battlefield that threatens to redefine both of their careers. According to insiders, Justin felt blindsided. He alleges that Blake wasn't just asserting her influence as a co-producer, she was taking over. Sources describe her as impossible to work with, claiming she tried to rewrite scenes, overrule direction, and shape the film into her own vision. When things didn't go her way, she allegedly called in reinforcements, her husband, Ryan Reynolds, to put pressure on the production. If true, it paints a disturbing picture of Hollywood power being used as a weapon. And Justin didn't stay quiet. He lawyered up. What followed was a jaw-dropping legal battle that's now spilling into the public eye. Justin's legal team claims Blake went far beyond creative interference, accusing her of manipulating evidence, altering messages, and deleting context from private exchanges before attaching them to her lawsuit. They say she cherry-picked texts to make Justin look like a villain, removing emojis, timestamps, and even sections of messages that showed her own role in the conflict. For fans who once saw Blake as America's sweetheart, this is a shocking twist. Even Megyn Kelly weighed in, calling Blake's alleged behavior nightmarish and suggesting she may have pulled an Amber Heard-style strategy without realizing what that implied. Because if your defense mirrors Amber's, it doesn't exactly scream innocence. But let's rewind. This all started as a passion project, Blake's chance to prove herself not just as a performer, but as a powerful creative force in Hollywood. It Ends With Us had all the makings of a breakout success, a beloved novel, a star-studded cast, and a powerful message about resilience and love. Fans were thrilled, the studio was confident, and the red carpets were ready. Then, everything changed. Behind the glossy Instagram posts and carefully curated press interviews, tension was bubbling. Creative clashes became personal. By the time the cameras stopped rolling, the film's biggest drama wasn't on screen. It was happening off it. Justin Baldoni, known for his calm and thoughtful demeanor, reportedly tried to maintain professionalism as the conflict intensified. But soon, even his patience reached its limit. Blake allegedly took over decision-making, overriding his authority, as director and forcing rewrites that derailed the original vision. Insiders say it became a battle for control. And when she couldn't win on set, Blake took it to court. The lawsuit hit Hollywood like an earthquake. Blake accused Justin of professional misconduct, claiming emotional distress, creative sabotage, and unethical behavior. For weeks, the headlines painted her as the victim, the brave actress standing up to a manipulative director. But then came the twist no one saw coming. Justin fought back. He filed a countersuit. And it wasn't just a legal reply. It was a $400 million defamation bombshell. His team alleged that Blake's entire lawsuit was part of a coordinated smear campaign, one that involved her powerful publicist, Leslie Sloan, and possibly other Hollywood insiders. Suddenly, the narrative flipped. The victim storyline began to crumble. People started asking tough questions. Why would Justin risk everything, his reputation, his career, to fight this so aggressively unless he had something solid? Even Blake's allies started going quiet. Brandon Sklenar and Isabella Ferrer, her It Ends With Us co-stars who initially stood by her, began distancing themselves. Brandon, who once publicly supported Blake with heart emojis and encouraging posts, started dodging questions about the feud entirely. His once enthusiastic tone turned cautious. "I just want people to focus on the movie," he said in one interview, a safe but telling response. Isabella, who had once praised Blake's mentorship, suddenly went silent too. No more reposts, no interviews, just quiet. And in Hollywood, silence is never random. Whispers began spreading that the cast had seen or heard things behind the scenes, things that made them rethink their loyalty. Some speculated that Blake's lawsuit had opened a Pandora's box, revealing private details about production that were never meant to see daylight. Then came the turning point. During a live interview, a host asked Brandon point blank, "Are you Team Blake or Team Justin?" His answer said everything. "I'm Team, it ends with us." It was a diplomatic response, but the subtext was loud. The unity around Blake was crumbling. The loyalty was fading. And suddenly, her carefully built image as the heroine of this Hollywood battle looked fragile. The entire ordeal has exposed the brutal reality of how quickly power dynamics can shift in Hollywood. One moment, you're a beloved star commanding respect and admiration. The next, you're fighting to keep your reputation intact as the world questions everything you stand for. And through it all, fans are torn. Some still see Blake as a trailblazer unfairly targeted by jealous men in power. Others see her as an example of celebrity ego gone unchecked, someone who used her fame and influence until it backfired spectacularly. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni's legal team is methodically dismantling her case piece by piece. The $400 million countersuit isn't just about money. It's about reputation, credibility, and truth. If the evidence he claims to have comes out, the unedited texts, the missing emojis, the deleted context, it could be devastating. Not just for Blake's career, but for her legacy. Because in Hollywood, image is everything. And once the shine fades, there's no easy way back. At its core, this entire saga is a reflection of how power, perception, and ego collide under the spotlight. Two ambitious stars, both determined to control their narrative, locked in a battle where every word, every message, and every silence carries consequences. So as the lawsuits unfold and new revelations emerge, one question remains: who's telling the truth? Is Justin Baldoni the victim of a manipulative campaign? Or is Blake Lively fighting for justice in a system that's trying to silence her? Either way, this isn't just a Hollywood feud anymore. It's a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the brightest stars can find themselves lost in the shadows when fame, pride, and truth collide. The entertainment industry runs on connections, and few stars have as many as Blake Lively. Her marriage to Ryan Reynolds, one of Hollywood's biggest box office draws, and her close friendship with Taylor Swift, one of the most influential figures in pop culture, make her a force both on and off screen. Aligning with Blake opens doors. Crossing her? That's a career gamble few are willing to take. For rising or mid-level actors like Isabella Farah and Brendan Skinner, supporting Blake initially seemed like the smart move, a way to stay in Hollywood's good graces. After all, who wants to risk being iced out of the Swift-Reynolds social circle? Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni, though respected as both an actor and director, simply didn't have that same pop culture pull. He couldn't promise high-profile cameos or front-row seats at Fashion Week. So, when the controversy began, most people assumed siding with Blake was the safest play. But then everything changed. When Justin's countersuit surfaced, reportedly packed with text messages, emails, and even audio recordings that contradicted Blake's narrative, the power dynamic shifted. Suddenly, those who once stood firmly beside her started to waver. In Hollywood, perception is everything, and no one wants to be caught on the wrong side of the truth. At the center of this storm stood Leslie Sloan, Blake's longtime publicist and Hollywood's go-to crisis manager. Known as the Fixer, Leslie has built a career handling PR disasters for A-list clients. But according to Justin's legal team, she wasn't just managing the scandal. She was allegedly orchestrating it. The countersuit claims that Sloan spearheaded a targeted smear campaign against Justin, planting tabloid stories and blind items designed to paint him as toxic and untrustworthy. Emails allegedly show her warning cast and crew to distance themselves from him, subtly ensuring Blake controlled the narrative. Now, with Sloan reportedly trying to distance herself from the case, speculation is mounting. Why would someone so experienced want out, unless there's something she doesn't want revealed? Insiders whisper about a smoking gun, a piece of evidence so damning that it could completely reshape how the public views this entire feud. If that's true, Blake's team may be scrambling behind the scenes to settle before it ever reaches open court. Once upon a time, public opinion was firmly on Blake's side. She was the elegant Hollywood darling, admired, trusted, untouchable. Social media lit up with hashtags defending her and condemning Justin before the evidence was even seen. But then Justin started speaking out. Slowly, fragments of his evidence began to leak. Screenshots, statements, and messages that painted a very different picture. And as more people in the industry began quietly siding with Justin, the tide turned. Suddenly, the question wasn't, how could he do this to Blake? But was Blake's story ever real in the first place? Now, as both legal teams prepare for what could be one of Hollywood's most explosive courtroom battles, the entire industry is watching, nervous, divided, and waiting to see whose reputation will survive. Because in Hollywood, power shifts fast, and even the brightest stars can fall overnight. In Hollywood, reputation isn't just an accessory, it's currency. The right image can open doors to billion-dollar franchises, luxury brand deals, and global adoration. And no one has understood that better than Blake Lively. For years, she's been the golden girl of the industry, effortlessly elegant, married to Ryan Reynolds, adored by fans, and connected to power players who shape pop culture itself. But beneath that perfect surface, something has shifted. What started as a simple film project has spiraled into one of the most shocking legal dramas in modern Hollywood history, a $400 million defamation case that threatens to expose everything the industry tries to keep hidden. The story begins with It Ends With Us, a film adaptation that seemed destined for success. With Blake Lively starring, Justin Baldoni directing, and a loyal fan base behind the best-selling novel, it was supposed to be a guaranteed hit. But somewhere between rehearsals, creative disagreements, and marketing strategies, tensions began to brew. What should have been a collaboration turned into a cold war of accusations, leaked messages, and public statements. Now, the very project that once promised prestige has become a battlefield of loyalty, manipulation, and survival. The entertainment industry thrives on relationships, and Blake Lively's are among the most powerful. Her marriage to Ryan Reynolds gives her access to a network of top producers, brand executives, and influential insiders. Add to that her friendship with Taylor Swift, arguably the most influential pop icon alive, and you have a level of social leverage that few can challenge. Aligning with Blake can mean career protection, press coverage, and invitations to the inner circle. Opposing her? That's a risk very few are willing to take. For younger or mid-tier actors like Isabella Farah and Brendan Skinner, siding with Blake early on wasn't just a moral choice. It was a strategic one. Who in their right mind would risk alienating someone in Taylor Swift's orbit or jeopardizing potential opportunities through Ryan Reynolds' expansive network? By contrast, Justin Baldoni, respected, talented, and admired for his humanitarian image, doesn't wield the same pop culture power. He's known for his kindness, his thoughtful interviews, his grounded outlook. But he's not the kind of figure who can offer guaranteed blockbuster cameos or Fashion Week invites. At first, it seemed logical for others to rally behind Blake, but Hollywood is unpredictable, and perception can flip overnight. Everything changed when Justin filed his countersuit. Suddenly, the narrative began to fracture. In that lawsuit, he alleged that key pieces of evidence, text messages, emails, and possibly recorded calls, directly contradicted Blake's version of events. The implication was explosive. If true, it could mean that the entire media campaign against him was carefully constructed. And at the center of that alleged construction stood one woman, Leslie Sloan. Leslie Sloan isn't just any publicist. She's a legend in Hollywood's crisis management circles, the fixer you call when your reputation's on fire. She's known for her discretion, her control over media access, and her ability to make or break stories before they ever hit the tabloids. Her client list reads like a who's who of A-list talent. For years, she's been the invisible architect behind some of the industry's biggest image rescues. But Justin's countersuit paints a different picture, one that could rewrite her legacy forever. According to his claims, Leslie didn't just defend Blake. She allegedly orchestrated a full-scale smear campaign designed to destroy Justin's credibility. Emails and messages referenced in the countersuit reportedly show her coordinating narratives, feeding gossip to entertainment outlets, and influencing cast and crew perceptions behind the scenes. The suit alleges that she encouraged colleagues to distance themselves from Justin, suggesting he was unsafe, volatile, or untrustworthy. If these claims hold any truth, it wouldn't just be a PR misstep. It would be one of the most calculated reputation takedowns Hollywood has ever seen. And yet, what makes this scandal even more disturbing is how subtle the manipulation appears to have been. It wasn't one public blow-up. It was whispers, blind items, and quiet exclusions. The kind of strategic toxicity that corrodes reputations slowly. Insiders describe it as the silent burn, where perception is poisoned drip by drip until no one remembers where the rumor began. That's the kind of influence only someone like Leslie Sloan could allegedly wield. Now, as this legal storm intensifies, the ripple effects are everywhere. Actors who once defended Blake online have gone silent. Isabella Farah, who reportedly texted Justin during production saying she felt safe and supported under his direction, later appeared publicly endorsing claims that he created a hostile work environment. Brendan Skinner, once one of Blake's most vocal allies, suddenly stopped mentioning her in interviews. Did they see evidence behind closed doors? Were they pressured to change their tone? Or are they simply bracing for impact, unsure which way the public tide will turn? That uncertainty has become the defining feature of this scandal. Everyone in Hollywood is watching, and everyone is afraid to pick the wrong side. If Justin's claims are true, the implications are devastating. Coordinated defamation isn't just unethical, it's illegal. It can end careers, bankrupt studios, and permanently damage trust in the entertainment system. But even if the claims are exaggerated, the fact that such a lawsuit exists, supported by alleged documentation, has already damaged Blake's once impenetrable image. Her team has fought back aggressively, filing motions to dismiss the case and arguing that Justin's claims are baseless attempts to flip the narrative. Yet legal experts warn that defamation cases aren't dismissed easily when credible evidence is presented, and reports suggest Justin has plenty. Phone transcripts, email chains, witnesses ready to testify under oath. That's not rumor, that's documentation. And in the court of law, documentation is everything. Blake's side has reportedly hinted that she might refuse to be deposed if certain attorneys are present, a decision that stunned observers. Legal experts say you can't cherry-pick who's allowed in a deposition. Refusing to cooperate could lead to sanctions, or worse, a default judgment. All the celebrity power in the world doesn't bend court rules. And if depositions do proceed, we might see something unprecedented. Blake Lively, under oath, forced to respond to evidence line by line, message by message, in full public record. That's where the stakes become unimaginable. Every text, every email, every DM that hints at narrative control or manipulation could end up exposed, not in gossip columns, but in official court transcripts. For a star who spent her career curating perfection, that kind of transparency could be catastrophic. And it's not just Blake who stands to lose. Leslie Sloan's reputation as Hollywood's ultimate fixer is now under direct threat. If the court compels her to testify and her alleged involvement in orchestrating these narratives is confirmed, her career might not survive the fallout. High-profile clients could flee, fearing exposure of their own PR dealings. In a world built on trust and secrecy, the collapse of one fixer could set off a chain reaction across the entire industry. Meanwhile, the collateral damage keeps growing. Isabella and Brendan, the supporting players in this drama, now face their own reputational dilemmas. If evidence proves they backed Blake for opportunistic reasons, they risk being labeled as opportunists rather than victims. If Justin's case collapses, they could be seen as courageous whistleblowers. Either way, the public scrutiny will be relentless. In Hollywood, neutrality is not an option. Everyone has to choose a side, and every choice comes with consequences. For Justin, the risks are immense. Even if he wins, he may still lose. Hollywood doesn't easily forgive those who challenge its elite. Directors who sue their stars rarely find open doors again. He could be blacklisted quietly, not publicly condemned, just quietly ignored, projects disappearing one by one. But if he wins publicly, if the evidence really is as strong as insiders suggest, he could become something else entirely. The rare figure who stood up against the machine and won. That would make him dangerous, powerful, and respected in equal measure. For Blake, the fallout could be equally devastating. Her image as America's sweetheart, the poised, untouchable icon, could fracture beyond repair. Brand deals could vanish overnight. Luxury companies that depend on flawless optics would distance themselves. Casting directors might hesitate to risk controversy. In an industry obsessed with image, a single crack can turn into an avalanche. The stakes are astronomical. And still, it's only getting bigger. Ryan Reynolds, though not directly involved, has inevitably been pulled into the orbit of speculation. His name appears in nearly every headline, every fan theory, every online debate. Some suggest he's been advising Blake behind the scenes. Others say he's quietly furious about how the situation has escalated.